Thank you, Bonnie. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to this meeting of the Traffic Safety Committee. We're going to open up the meeting. It is April 9th, 6:34 p.m. My name is Bill Pierce. I'm the chairman. I'm going to start with a couple notes and then we'll get started. This open meeting of the Traffic Safety Committee is being conducted remotely pursuant to Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2023, an act relative to extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency, signed into law on March 29th, 2023. All members of the Traffic Safety Committee are allowed and encouraged to participate remotely. The Act allows the Traffic Safety Committee to meet entirely remotely so long as reasonable public access is afforded so that the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. The public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda unless the chair notes otherwise. Members of the public who wish to view the live stream of this meeting may do so by going to Northborough Remote Meetings on YouTube via the link listed in the agenda. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. This meeting will feature public comment. Just to make sure we can all be heard, members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Rachel?
Here.
Brian?
Here.
Chris?
I was late, but I'm here.
You're not late. You're right on time.
If you didn't say anything, no one would have noticed.
Kate?
Here.
Lisa?
Here.
Okay. Staff, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Scott?
Present.
Okay. And I know the police chief had a conflict today, so he will not be joining us, but he did send in some information. So we will get this meeting started. First on the agenda is the traffic signal at intersection on Crestwood Drive and West Main Street, the accident data. I think that's Lincoln Street as well, correct, Scott?
That's correct.
So you had sent us some information on that.
Yep.
I don't know if you want to go over it real quick.
I'll give you a quick summary of what the Chief was able to provide. We received accident data from 2019 through the end of calendar 23. There were 13 accidents in all. Looks like there were only 2 personal injury, and 2 of them occurred in the morning. The vast majority of them were afternoon accidents. So rise in these sets in the west, I'm not sure which direction the accidents were in. I don't have the actual reports. I'm not convinced that it's a solar glare issue there, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Often when you see a cluster of PM or AMs, it's solar related. I know there was a lot of rear ender accidents at Bartlett and 20 when we did the RSA, the roadway safety audit, and the vast majority of those were solar related, solar glare.
Yeah, and the other thing I noticed is that it's, all the months are all different, right? It's not like, you with solar glare, sometimes you'll get a cluster within a month or a few weeks of each other, and none of these are within that at all.
Right.
So, just out of curiosity, Scott, do you know what the criteria would be for us to go to Mass? What would MassDOT be looking at?
I've asked before. They've never given me a positive response for a traffic light at this location. They go through their information just like we did. And from everything I've heard, over 3 years of asking, it's never reached the warrant level for consideration of a traffic signal there.
Yeah.
It's their road. If it doesn't, they deem it not warranted, then I don't think there's much you can do other than wait.
Right.
There's some,
Rachel.
Oh, I'm sorry, Rachel. I didn't know you had your hand up.
That's
You
okay.
can go. I'll go after you.
I'm wondering if there's a way to find out more details about the accident. Because I thought I remembered reading something that said that the types of accidents that occur there wouldn't be resolved by a traffic light. Like the crossing type accidents, I think, is what we would be looking at more. And I could be wrong, but I just thought I remembered hearing something about that with this intersection, that was the main reason that they keep saying no. It's a rear ender accident. you know, that with or without a traffic light, that's not because of a dangerous intersection, that's just because of inattention. But
It's a good observation, Kate. There is a mid-block crosswalk there, and not every pedestrian hits the light. And even those that do, that light is very infrequently activated, so it's not expected by drivers. And I've been rear-ended stopping for pedestrians in crosswalks before. I wouldn't be surprised if that was the case here.
Yeah, I would think even, somebody making a left-hand turn onto Lincoln Street there probably has gotten one or two whacks, a rear-ended there with somebody just not paying attention. But again, the other thing is even putting a light there may make some people be a little bit more aware there could be a left-hand turn there. So go ahead, Rachel.
My question was between Lincoln and Southwest Cutoff, do you think that there are accidents that occur there that might have been stopped if there were a stoplight there? I mean, making a left-hand turn out of Rockies or out of the post office or, out of the pickle houses can be very difficult. If there were a left there, would it impact further down the road at all? If there were a light there? And do we have accident data for that stretch between Southwest Cutoff and Lincoln Street?
I would think we do. We have every accident that's reported, we have that information. I didn't request that, so I'm not sure what what accidents are there. And I know when I come out of the pickle house and I try to take a left, it's a challenge. A lot of people don't even tap their brakes when they turn to West Main Street to go past Times Square. I don't know what the answer would be, Rachel.
Okay.
Yeah, one of the things I thought of as well when we were going through this is that this is great data to have, but if you think about it, if it's a minor fender bender or something, a lot of people don't call the police, right? They'll just report it to their insurance company. And it's funny because I tried to reach out to a few people that I know in that business, and they say that they do track that data, but there's no way to actually retrieve it if you're not in the insurance business. Like if there are, in insurance related that don't necessarily go through the police department. So there's no way to grab it. I just thought it's sort of an interesting data point that, at some point, maybe, somebody may want to think about doing. Did you have something, Chris?
No, I scratched my eye. Sorry. I was just trying to, I guess, think through it. I guess I don't think a lot of those fender benders accidents, they kind of get discarded when considering, I think Kate said, long day. Kate said they kind of get discarded in that case because a traffic light doesn't always fix that type of problem. It's more they look into the angle crashes and that type of stuff. But unfortunately, as Scott said, it seems like not that it's dead in the water, but it's a ways out. It's kind of bottom of the list type of deal here.
Yep.
yeah, the people who are making that decision don't live in our town, I don't think. And their main focus is keeping traffic moving on Route 20.
Right.
And
Yep.
it would back up severely, but I mean, I think it would be fantastic if there was a way that we could actually make this happen. I just don't see that going forward.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funky geometry there too with the misaligned intersections. So it's a whole plethora of problems there that definitely something needs to give at some point.
Chris, you had
Yep.
mentioned doing a road safety audit there. Do you know what the criteria would be to get that started?
So to get it through the state, and I guess I should tee this off by saying these are my personal opinions and they're no reflective of my company or anything. My personal opinion is that it's not going to get done through DOT if it's not a high crash cluster area. So if there's other avenues like similar to the Bartlett one where you go through the central mass planning, we could attempt that, or kind of see if there's a way we could allocate funds to get an engineer to do a road safety audit. I guess is the two ways it could technically go. It would have to be something that we, as a traffic safety in town, would probably have to initiate. And I'm not sure how that plays into it being a state-owned road either, is the other thing.
Yeah, that was
Yeah,
gonna be my next question.
if DOT doesn't support a roadway safety audit to be conducted, and we do one independently, I wonder how valuable the results will be to DOT. I don't know. I don't know, but I mean, we've reached out to them a lot. Lisa's familiar with Maple Street and Brigham Street and Main Street, that intersection, and that has gotten no traction whatsoever.
Yeah, it's hard. There's a lot of intersections that are begging for this type of work, and I think there's some bigger fish out there, unfortunately.
Right. Okay. Well, it's good to know that we can at least pull the data. So, maybe we just keep an eye on this one. Maybe Scott, to your point, maybe we identify like 5 in town, the Maple, Brigham, Route 20 being one of them as well. And we say, we just want to keep an eye on these, and every year, right, at the end of the year, we just automatically get a report on those.
Good idea.
Okay,
One
Chris.
other thing too, sorry, I just thought of it. Could we add accident type to this list?
Yep.
Is that possible?
Yeah, I'll reach out to the chief and see if that's an easy data to query.
Okay. Because I think that would help too, kind of see where some of those bad accident clusters are. And maybe, is it possible to get what type of damage, whether it's personal injury or property or?
I think that's on there. That's
Is
the
it on there?
PIPD. PI is personal injury.
Oh, okay.
PD, I'm assuming, is property damage.
Okay, yep.
What's NIPD?
I was just gonna ask what's NI.
No.
And if that's the chief one, that one next month.
Northborough injury.
I mean, it could
Maybe.
be, I was going to suggest no injury, property damage. And then PD would be kind of both.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But we could actually ask somebody who knows what they're talking about instead.
That'd be too
Yes,
easy.
though. Yeah, right.
What are you saying, Brian?
Okay, unless anyone has anything else about that subject, we'll move on to the next agenda item. The peer community survey.
Yep. So I sent out the summary spreadsheet, tried to drill everything down that we got for results into something relatively quick and easy to digest. In the 3 main categories that we inquired about: speed hump use, stop signs, and problematic truck traffic. Of the communities we surveyed, for speed humps, 5 use them and 9 do not. The ones that do use them, they're generally around schools and cut-through roads. The stop signs, almost half and half. 5 follow MUTCD to the letter, and then 6 do not. They just base it on recommendations of staff and or their traffic safety committees. And truck traffic, a lot of it depends on what they have in town and how cut through they are. So it was about half and half, mostly just GPS pushing trucks down roads that they just didn't normally drive down. I was surprised that the majority of the communities do not follow MUTCD for stop sign placement.
Yeah, and that could be maybe that they do follow it generally as a guideline instead of following it strictly.
Mm-hmm. the select board has authority to implement stop signs, so they do have that leeway when it comes to recommendations and not deciding not to follow, standards and recommendations of the state and the feds.
Right.
I do think the select board years ago now put back the stop sign that was at Collins and Ridge. Had fallen down for a couple of years. And they
Well,
were,
every stop sign in town is supposed to be listed in the town code as approved for implementation by the select board. I know there are some signs that have not been approved by the select board around town. Just former directors just threw up signs if somebody asked for one. Sins of the past. But, without the select board approval, it's not an enforceable sign from my understanding.
Well, we should probably get a list of those and, get that in front of the select board to at least make it official.
Yeah, I would have to add that to my, to our townwide pavement assessment. I do not have the resources to drive every road in town
Right.
and map out all the signs. It is one of the data points that I wanted to collect. I'm fearful to do so. Every other year, we drive every single road in town to reassess their conditions. When we do that, we capture another data point. For example, we picked up sidewalks and curbs. We picked up pavement markings. Guardrail was the first additional item we picked up. We're doing that again this year. For an update, guardrails have been a topic of conversation the past couple of years. So we're going to update that data. Signs was another one that I was interested in gathering, not just types and locations, but reflective conditions and if they're compliant or not. But I'm afraid to do that because we're gonna find a lot of bad signs out there, and I don't
Right.
want to put $80,000 into sign replacements around town.
Right. But unfortunately, it's one of those things that if you don't put the 80,000 in now, it's going to be 120 next year.
Yep.
Right. So
Yep.
prices only go up, not down.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's tough. That's interesting about the MUTCD.
We have signs in Grafton that are they're 15 miles an hour. They're yellow. They're not enforceable. They're just suggestions. But the select board said put them up, and put them up.
So how does that happen with a stop sign if, say, there's an accident? And if it's not an enforceable sign, I guess it would be still the person who needs to stop at fault, but.
Yeah, I don't know. I know all our speed limits are the same thing. If they're established, and if you don't catch the sign because you turned out a side road, the ignorance of the law is on you. But where it's a unenforceable sign, I don't know.
It's interesting because I drive through Concord and Bedford twice a week. And in those two communities, when you enter the town, every street you go into you enter the town, it says that basically the default speed limit is 25.
Wow.
And so if there's not a sign, it's 25 miles an hour.
Huh.
it is interesting because it's usually 35, isn't it?
It's 30, I think. I remember my
Yeah.
driving rules from many years ago when I had to take that test.
And this was Concord, you said? Concord.
Concord and Bedford both have it. The one right next to the other.
Yeah, I think there's a way you can maybe, I don't know, Scott, you might know better, that you can apply for basically a safety speed zone.
Yeah.
Throughout your entire town. That's probably what they did.
Yeah. Yeah, because 25 miles an hour is not a speed limit. It needs to be specially implemented usually, but maybe they got authorization to do it townwide.
Yeah. Okay. Any other comments on that? Scott, can we put this up on the website?
Yeah, sure.
Just the survey information. I just think it'd be interesting to refer back to, especially maybe a couple of years down the road we do another one.
Would you like the summary, like the Excel, the summary, as well as the full details? The full details are a little scattered just because of the way they were the communities responded.
Yeah, I think, if we just put a reference that, if anyone wants it, it's available.
Okay.
Okay. The last new item we have is the crosswalk enhancements. So I know,
Yep.
Scott, I had asked you to put this one on. I want to make sure that we can get a letter to the select board making this request, probably maybe for the next town meeting in the fall.
Okay. If that's what you like, maybe worthwhile having a motion and, having me provide it on behalf of the committee to the select board, unless you want to wait.
I'm happy to do it as well. I mean, it's up to you. You know more about them than I do, so.
It would be a simple letter just referencing the memorandum indicating at such and such a meeting, the Traffic Safety Committee voted however they did to support the recommendations in the memorandum.
Right.
We did receive a correspondence that I emailed out to the committee yesterday, I think it was, or maybe it was Friday, maybe yesterday. The former crossing guard at Crestwood and Northgate.
Mrs. Matt.
I'm sorry, Chesterfield, Northgate, I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Did you already
Yep.
send a list of them? I thought you did. You sent a list to the board, didn't you?
Yes.
So we
Are
reference.
you on that? Let me just check and see if you're on that email. Yes, you were on that. It was sent from Robert Luke on 4/3.
Double check on it. After town meeting, we're still heavily involved in all of that.
Yeah, that's why I didn't want to. I figured it didn't make sense to try to push it for this town meeting. We can wait for the next one in the fall.
Yeah, I think the fall's gonna take a couple different ones.
Yeah.
They're important, get them out and start getting safety going. How do you go
Yeah.
about putting those reflective strips down on, like the speed limit signs have a white strip under it and the stop sign has a red strip under it down the pole?
We've done that at specific locations when requested. We did them on the crosswalk signs at Center Drive across Hudson Street.
Right, yeah.
For one, we put them there. A lot of the seniors from the housing development there cross over to go to the downtown area, so we added those there.
Is it a lot to put them in other areas? I mean, I don't think we have many, right? We only have a couple?
We only have a couple out. I mean, we're happy to do it upon request, but again, we don't have the resources to go strip every stop sign, yield sign, traffic control sign.
Yeah.
That's a lot. There's a lot of signs in town.
Some of them are on the maybe like, I mean, you may already have it going down South Street, heading south at that horrible corner.
Oh, the 25-mile-an-hour approach sign. I'm not sure. I'll take a look. I think we have a couple in stock. I can always put in there.
A couple of areas, and I bet you Crawford Street probably has a bad curve someplace, if I remember. I'll travel it often enough, but
It has bad shoulders.
yeah. Me too. Be a couple of those strips would help instead of my fish.
Okay. So if there's nothing else on those crosswalks, just a couple things that we're keeping on the agenda for now are the two.
Sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
Bill, before we move too far away from it,
Yep.
I did find the town meeting article from Bedford where they it did the lower municipal speed limits from 2017, if you want me to send that somewhere.
Oh yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, if you can forward that to the, link or something to the group.
All right, I'll write
Thank
something
you.
up after this.
Yep. Yeah, I just found it interesting. Like I said, I drive it twice a week, so I just
Sure.
found it interesting that they had done that.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's something we really would want to do here, but
Is it like in there down? You see? Oh, I guess right when you enter town, are you in like the downtown area?
yeah, no, it's literally at the border,
Yeah.
right at the border of the town. It's, it has, speed limit 35, and then the very next sign it says, unless otherwise listed, speed limit
Yeah.
25.
I think Framingham has that too.
Basically converts all thickly settled, unposted to 25.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Yeah.
So with those towns, I'm assuming they don't have a state highway running through their downtown. I'm just thinking that as we sort
Framingham?
of talk about, but so that's my
Concord?
question, how much?
I'm sure Concord has a state.
Concord is Route 2.
Yeah.
So
UA.
that is my
All
question
review.
as we talk about sort of downtown revitalization and complete streets and making the downtown more walkable. If we did want to lower the speed limit on Route 20 in downtown, so they were able to do that? Is that what
Yeah.
you're?
No.
No. 'Cause if it's posted there, then that overrides the 25, right? So it's just if it's not posted somewhere. So on some of the side streets or something like that, where you
Okay.
assume it's 30, it's actually 25. Scott, correct me
Okay.
if I'm wrong. I don't think we would be able to change Route 20, the speed limits on Route 20 at all. That's state highway.
Right. Yeah, we don't have any control over that.
No, it does say the article I found specifically makes exceptions for state highways. So presumably
Okay,
they're just
so-
ignoring that and hoping that slowing down people everywhere else is a start.
No, it definitely is a start. I guess, it's just something to think about as we're revitalizing downtown. I don't know what Hudson's, downtown speed limit is, and that maybe that's probably not a state highway.
No.
But, those are, I'm just wondering if 35 is appropriate downtown if we're trying to make it more walkable and more pedestrian friendly.
But the thing you have
Scott.
to be really careful of with speed limit is when you're doing the study, part of that is looking at what the normal speed is that people are actually driving. And it usually so happens that when people want the speed limit lowered, they do the study and it ends up being raised. So it
Yep.
can really backfire.
I think the updated MUTCD actually helps reduce that. It might. I don't know. I think there's newer guidelines that came out that might help not have that happen. But I'm not positive on that.
That's
I
always been my experience in the past.
Yeah, it's definitely it happens.
85th percentile is always more than the speed limit.
Yeah,
So,
the 85th
Scott,
percentile on. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, just Scott, when we start looking at complete streets and putting pedestrians sort of on equal footing as of cars and things like that, I don't know how you start implementing complete streets and safer streets for pedestrians without lowering speed limits.
No, for sure.
The complete streets funds would be used toward local roads. So we do have control over those. I don't see a lot of complete streets money going toward a state highway. I don't even know if it's eligible for us to construct on a state highway with their money. That would be really odd. So complete streets, the intent, from what I understand originally from the planning director, is to utilize those funds for kind of phase one of the downtown improvements. I think there's been some recent discussion about spending those elsewhere, but I'm not sure where those funds are going to go, but they do go to local roads.
Yeah,
So
I
would
guess
they
as
not
we
do
start
that?
talking about high density and affordable housing in that area, it's just something that, I'm just throwing out there something that
Right.
it could be a hindrance towards getting to a downtown revitalization with high density housing if we're continuing to keep the 35 speed limit.
Yeah. I think some of the practices that come with the Complete Streets program is to implement design features that kind of help slow the traffic down so that, 35 really is the speed limit.
But at the same time, if you can't, and I think we're getting off the rails, but if at the same time, if you can't make those changes on the state highway that makes up our downtown and incidentally makes up the downtown in Hudson as well, routes 85 and 62 intersect in downtown Hudson. If you can't do any sort of traffic calming measures on the state highway,
Yeah, that's
Right.
my.
I feel like I'm missing something.
Well, but
You are.
one of the things with the high density housing, like Rachel was mentioning, right? It's not just like Route 20, right? It's the Route 20 core. So you're talking Hudson Street, you're talking Church Street, Blake Street, Pierce Street. All of those become sort of part of it, right? And those we can control. So even if we can't control, the main street, we can create some controls on, the feeders of that street and slowing down the traffic there. So, I mean, it's a good discussion to have, but, we all gotta, like Scott said, we've all got to keep in mind that, we don't have a lot of control over Route 20, right? So the only controls we can apply are what's feeding in or out of Route 20.
Can have some interesting effects when you really, really promote vehicles to not use side roads. It can make them very pedestrian friendly, and then it can also jam up your intersections quite a bit. You certainly don't want people cutting through Monroe and Gale. That's a nice walking area between the town common and the park. But if every single car is taken off the side roads and there's economic development, and there's no cars on the side roads, they're just driving right through town, not looking at anything.
Right.
Well, and then that was my favorite issue, my favorite topic, trucks, but that's what we're finding too, as the residents are asking for HCVEs, the center of town becomes more congested, so.
Yeah.
It seems we're at opposite, interests when we're looking at, keeping residential roads residential, but also having a pedestrian friendly downtown. It's just something to think about.
Well,
You could always start too on the neighborhoods that have problems and feed out from those, like Northgate. I think that street has turned into a major cut through, and it's really a neighborhood. So you could maybe start doing something there and then working out to other areas. I bet you even Davis Street, right? Doesn't Davis Street get a lot of high traffic and speed?
I'm not sure about
Davis, not Little Davis.
I'm not sure about speed. I know they do. There was quite a bit of traffic on it. One of the sidewalk expansions that I had looked at early when I came on board in Northborough was connecting Indian Meadow over to Northgate. There's a segment of roadway where a sidewalk is missing from the westerly Indian Meadow going west out to Hamilton or Lanthorn. I think it's Lanthorn. And then Lanthorn has a sidewalk. So there's one section of road there where pedestrians can't get from Indian Meadow to Northgate to the schools.
Right.
So a gap. Those are the gaps that, we looked at when it comes to sidewalk expansion and complete streets. The one, you have Lisa on Maple Street from Route 20 to Ridge.
Right.
I'm sorry, from Ridge to the school. That's the logical, expansion.
My unbiased opinion is Allen Street with a lot of traffic and
You're unbiased?
but my unbiased.
Well, we actually designed that to accommodate a sidewalk, and we have easement plans drawn in order to accommodate the sidewalk.
Yeah.
And it's a good location, Chris. You're right. It connects your trail to Edmonds Hill right over to the Memorial Field Park and, the Aqueduct Bridge. Not a lot of people want to walk up and over that. So
If you got funding for that, is it ready to go since you drew the plans up?
It just needs to do the design. The plans are just easements. But I have to do a design plan and bid it out. But the easements, I mean, I talked to the neighbors, I got the easements drawn up. You know, it's a process with town meeting and then getting easements, but that's not a challenging one. That's a pretty easy one. I know somebody in the area too.
I think that's, I mean, again, it's it's a smaller section to start, but people walk by my house all the time and we, you know, there's a loop basically that Allen Street's involved in, River Street, Hudson. And they come down Hudson, they go to Allen and then back up onto East Main Street. So.
Yeah, that's where I walk the dog and with the little one too, and it
Oh,
gets a little scary.
Yeah, it does. It's got a lot of, and there's already public sidewalk where the new bridge that they built a few years ago.
Yep.
Well, we had a visit from the delegates last night and asked about what they could do for us. And unfortunately, we heard that, oh, this is tightening year. This is a very tightening year. We're tightening everything. It's not a good year to ask for anything. I feel like, well, we ask.
They say that every year, but
That's right. But usually you get the nod. This was like, don't ask this. So it's a little worrisome too, because they were talking about grants and, you know, grant money's being slowed down. And it's election year. Until the election's over, you won't really know what's going to happen.
right.
And you know, it's too bad. I mean, I see those beautiful sidewalks on Route 9 in Westboro, both sides. I'm like,
Yeah.
who walks
where no
down
one
here?
walks.
Who would walk there?
Right? Like, oh, just stroll, you know, it sounds like a lovely place. I don't know. Maybe we can hijack them. They won't notice.
Just lift them up and put them in a
Hey, I'll give you
flatbed.
an easement if you ever want to put sidewalks on my little end of Davis Street.
Put in Will Davis, yeah. Yeah, that might be good to like even just start that in the motion of different places and kind of have that to the side because it doesn't cost anything, does it? You just ask them, right? So get one step closer to some of the complete street goodies. And I did ask if there was going to be more complete street money, and what you got. So, and I think we got do we get 400? Scott?
$500,000 a year.
Okay.
I'm sorry, $500,000 for a 4-year period.
Oh, so we got 5. Oh.
And it's construction money only. So you need to allocate design money first, make sure you have all your land acquisitions taken care of. And then you can submit your grant application for construction funding.
Okay. So basically you go to the homeowner, you'd ask for them to sign an easement request, or that be happy to do it. Then you have to go to the deeds. I suppose you have to pay them, right?
Go to the homeowner, make sure they're comfortable with the improvements.
Yeah.
Have an easement plan drawn up by a professional surveyor, and go to town meeting, get the easement accepted, have a memorandum of agreement with the abutter, go to town meeting, get the easement accepted, then go through the design work, then submit for the construction funding. So putting a sidewalk in is a couple of years, 3 years maybe.
And at the point of them allowing an easement, isn't there is it like a stipend that's given to them for that piece of land, right?
No.
I have a deed for my house. They gave me $60.
I think that's only if they take it,
For me, but
whether you like it or not.
Yeah,
right?
if they were to buy it, they would take the land, they would give you, you know, the value of the land, which is not a lot. Obviously, it's not a lot of land.
so that's like an eminent domain thing.
I'm not going to town meeting for an eminent domain taking from a person who doesn't want a sidewalk in front of their house. Somebody else could do that. That's not going to be me.
We'll set somebody in there.
I'll walk on the grass like I do now.
Yeah, exactly.
And Kate, I will back up what I walk down Davis Street to get from New England Tire to my house when I have to drop the car off, and you take your life in your hands, man. So I will go to town meeting and with some eminent domain things. I don't care.
There you go. See, we already have a
We
volunteer.
got a volunteer.
It's
Everyone knows who I am. I don't care if they like me.
interesting. Just walk on the grass. Everyone doesn't mind.
Hey,
There's a hairpin bend there too, isn't there?
which one?
Davis?
Oh, the whole
Yeah, the whole
Yeah.
thing is
Hairpin turn.
2 or 3?
all the turns.
'Cause, that might be a good one too, to put some stripes on. Signs.
Yeah, we have
There
a
are
lot,
signs.
there's a
Just-
lot of speed limit signs up and down that road.
Yeah, truck
Yeah.
exclusion.
Yep.
Lots of things that,
People don't pay attention to.
Yeah, that
no,
people
but you
ignore.
know what? There's a lot of radar around here too, which is
Mhm.
fun to watch, so.
I think they're doing that a little bit more now too.
Mhm.
Definitely. Okay, we are going to move on here. So we do still have on the agenda. The next thing is the peer community survey discussion. Speed bump installation on cut-through roadways on Winter Street.
Yeah, that was a citizen request made.
Okay.
I don't know what criterion we would use to determine if speed humps were gonna be installed. I don't know what kind of speed humps we would use. I don't think just having a blanket procedure, putting these in and not having a pilot program or some public outreach is a good idea. I know some communities put temporary ones in. They're loud. You know, if the person who asked for it doesn't live right there, they're probably gonna get some phone calls. So it's something to consider before the decision is made to do it.
So I'm trying to think in my head, and I don't want to have to look this up in the map. Where is Winter Street? That's the one.
Washburn to
Washburn. Okay.
to Whitney Street, and then it turns into Rice across Whitney Street.
Right. Okay.
Got the Spite House on the corner.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know if that's much. Is that much of a cut through? Because you'd be cutting down to Hudson. I don't know that you're really.
It doesn't really help you much if you're going to try to get to Whitney. I mean, you know, I'd go Washburn and get further down Whitney. It's a very narrow road. Can't imagine speed is of a concern there. It's probably more traffic density. You know, people don't want those that don't live on their road driving down it. I've driven down it several times, and it's narrow. It's very narrow.
Yeah, and then you try. Good.
That has like that weird curve right at the end, right? It's like it's like a horizontal and vertical at the same time.
Yeah,
It's a very dangerous hump right there. Yeah, and you've got
isn't there a
Washburn
sign?
coming right out there too.
Oh, that's where one of the 5Ks goes, right?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
I think the truck goes around there.
I've run down there quite a few times and
You're still here to tell the
it
tale.
was fine. I mean, it's just like any street anywhere, I think, in Northborough. You just have to be very careful.
Well, there's already some sort of a sign that talks about danger. It's pretty big. As
Yeah.
At like Washburn in winter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's an advanced warning sign for heavy commercial vehicle exclusion.
No,
It's a limited sight distance.
Yeah.
Oh, for the vertical curve. Yes, there's a advanced warning sign over on the low closer to Washburn, so nobody turns up there.
Yeah. I don't know if they watch much, but maybe for pilot programs, you could do the temporary one in the good weather to see what the solution is and how it helps. And you know, I mean, again, I go back to Northgate with the school, that crosswalk there could be a raised crosswalk. That's what they call it.
The one
Maybe
Mrs. Mack was talking about there?
Without the crosswalk, without the crossing guard.
Right, yeah.
Now that's 2 schools out of 4 that don't have a crossing guard.
Well, that's why we were looking at the crosswalk enhancements, right? Is to try to help with that. So.
Which I understand, and I think that that's great, but a 2nd grader walking to school by themselves needs a crossing guard. My personal opinion from being a mom of a walker back when.
Mm-hmm.
So who's in charge of hiring the crossing guards?
The school.
School.
not the department, the Proctor in this case.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Interesting.
Or
Okay.
the district.
Well, wait a minute, because those are different.
Well, the school is part of the district, right? So, you know,
Right.
the pay for the person would come out of the district, not out of the school itself.
But they already have budgeted the pay for the fiscal year, you would think, because Mrs. Mack, in this case, just retired in December.
Good luck finding someone.
Right. Yeah,
If-
that's the other
someone like
problem.
Mrs. Mack.
Find somebody who wants to work, you know, an hour and a half in the morning, an hour and a half in the afternoon.
I
Mhm.
will sign up for that. No, I know. I can totally appreciate that that's difficult. It's just scary to not have somebody there. I think that's a big risk.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anyone here that disagrees with that, unfortunately. But there's only so much we can do, right? So,
Right.
you know, we'll try this, and you know, if we need to look at a raised crosswalk, we can look at a raised crosswalk if we don't think this is working. But that's a bit more intensive, and you know, if it doesn't work out, it's not something that can easily come out.
I would not recommend a raised crosswalk on Northgate. No, if you have one on Washington that goes across from Jefferson to get to the school, that's a little different. It's a, you know, 500-foot roadway, residential. Nobody drives through it unless they're going to one of the homes or the school. Northgate's a heck of a lot there. It's got a double yellow center line. That's probably not someplace you want to have a raised crosswalk. That could be dangerous.
Right.
Why did it have a double yellow through the neighborhood?
Why what?
Why was a double yellow put it through the neighborhood? It wasn't always.
Where exactly are you referring to, Lisa?
Through Northgate.
On Northgate Road?
Yeah.
I
5
don't
years
know. It's been there for a long time. I'm guessing it's warranted due to the traffic counts.
Huh. We should look into that because I often wondered why a neighborhood would have that. Especially that, because it's so specifically a neighborhood that just got used so much that, because I don't think they widen the road.
Is it 35 or 25?
Well,
Believe it,
25 on there, but that was done by John Chunder, who was prior to Scott, maybe
I
one
know
or
him. I knew him.
okay. So
He
I
was
think,
2 prior to you, wasn't he?
yeah.
Yes, it was John, then Kara, then
Kara.
Dan, then me. Yep.
Yeah, he was.
It might be because of the classification of the road too.
Yep.
But it would,
Kevin,
that's what, because of the traffic on it?
The classification of the road itself as a collector. As a major collector.
When did they change, you know, I mean, obviously that's been there since the 50s, right? 50s or 60s. So when does that start to change? Does an application get made, or somebody has to make a decision that it was, you know, changed to that kind of a roadway?
Mass DOT is responsible for all the roadway classifications. I
Okay.
don't know what their process is for reviewing them, or
Yeah.
I mean, they have traffic count data, you know, on all the roads. Whether they review that periodically or not, I don't know. It's
Yeah,
nothing we have control over.
we should get the legislators to give us a sit down with some DOT people. I have questions for you. Let's get some answers going.
Come to our meeting.
Yes. We weren't hurt. We just want to
Yeah.
know.
Won't
We
hurt
just
permanently.
want some answers on camera. That's all.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Okay. And then you had another one that was stop sign requested were not warranted by Federal Highway Administration.
Yeah, those are just carryovers. I mean, I think we just discussed both of those in the peer survey. I do have an email out to Central Mass Regional Planning Commission for agenda item 3A. the heavy commercial vehicle exclusion on Lincoln Street, looking for a
Street, yeah.
timing on when they're gonna get the spring counts out.
That'd be nice.
Yep.
Do it on election day. That's when we usually see most of the trucks, right? You stand there and your hair goes blowing by.
Yep. And then we have the one for Brigham Street on the agenda for later.
Yep.
After Lincoln Street's done, so.
Yep. That'll run into the same problems we had on Summer Street and will exasperate the problem on Summer Street if it was implemented, I believe.
Well, it's up to look into it, I suppose.
Yeah.
Brigham
Okay.
Street was the one that you, wasn't it one that was like a specific company that kept going up and down?
Yep. Yeah, we reached out to Harvey's and asked them to seek an alternate route, and they agreed to.
They did. They took Summer Street.
Yep.
Saw them coming out of Summer Street.
Yep.
Like,
Probably
oh,
because they can't fit in the center of town.
yeah.
Look,
Right.
there's only so many routes they can go, man. They gotta,
Right.
unless we're gonna pick them up and like airlift them to.
Right around town.
Gotta
Yeah.
go somewhere.
Yeah, we're gonna have to find some sort of a secondary route once the fire station starts. Can you imagine how many people be sitting down at 20 waiting and waiting? Or maybe it's West Main Street. But
I mean, for me, it's Northgate.
is it? Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
the top route?
I'll cut through Northgate and then go up South Street.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Maybe that's why it has a double yellow line.
It's your fault. Oh my.
I
Because
I am not proud of how fast I was going on that road when they had the little like radar thing telling you how fast you were going. But in my defense, we were late for school.
You're
Mhm.
on the traffic safety committee, Brian. You're not.
I
supposed
was
to do
not on this committee then,
that.
first of all.
It's changed his ways.
No, I
Yeah.
haven't.
he's just a little bit more careful now when he looks around.
Well, I actually,
Um,
somebody called me today and said that they had been in a town where a crosswalk had paintings next to it, like little children's artwork. Like they,
Oh yeah.
oh,
you know, and it brought the attention to the driver that
Mhm.
this is an area where children are. And I said, wow, that is a pretty inexpensive way to bring some attention to
Yeah.
the driver.
I've
So-
seen studies that suggest that actually slows traffic. I
Yeah.
don't know how long that, yeah, I don't know how, and I can send those to the committee too. I don't know how long that effect lasts.
Well, you know,
I guess it depends
would
on
be
if
a
you
less-
live in town or not.
It
right.
would, it would be a less obnoxious experiment than the speed bumps, I think.
Well, that's true. The plows wouldn't care.
Yeah.
If you had a picture of one of the kids like with their head off.
Well,
Scott,
we
you
don't
got
have to go that morbid, but I guess we could.
Scott, you got any budding artists over there at the DPW who want to do some painting on the side on the roadways?
My
We
wife
have-
teaches art at Neshoba. If you say the word, and I'll get people. I'll get her right on it.
All right. Well, you're just a wealth of stuff. We're just gonna be tapping you on the shoulder.
Yeah, I know. This is why I didn't come all the time.
But I think it'd be great. Send it off. I think that would be a great, you know,
Mhm.
conversation piece, if nothing else. But
Fair.
I've seen a couple where they painted one that looked like a piano keyboard across the way,
Yeah.
or one that looked like a hole that the road had opened up.
Okay.
That stopped a lot of people.
That could.
I would
cut out.
I would aim more for
That-
fun than horrifying.
Yeah.
At least for the first couple.
Right, right. You see the character hanging on, you know.
Yeah.
Didn't slow down the first time. We'll show you what happens the next time.
No. Seems bad.
Okay. Unless anyone has anything else, we'll start wrapping this up. I am going to open it up for public comment. If there is anyone in the public, there is no one in the attendees list, but we'll open it up anyways, just in case. If anyone does ever want to come to one of these meetings and, ask us questions, give us feedback, we're happy to accept it. Next is the approval of the March 12th meeting minutes. Has everyone been able to go through those? Any questions or amendments? If not, do I have a motion to approve the March 12th minutes?
motion to approve the March 12th minutes.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, roll call vote, Rachel,
Aye.
Brian,
Present.
Chris,
Aye.
Kate,
Aye.
and I'm an aye as well. So next meeting is, pull up my calendar here.
Okay.
May 14th, second Tuesday.
Yep. So next meeting, May 14th. Everyone's still okay with the 6:30 times?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, pretty
You
good.
gonna start to go in person at all, or you want to stay on Zoom?
I actually am gonna talk. I'm gonna talk to Mitch about that and see if they want to start pulling in, if they're ready to start pulling in some of the subcommittees yet or not.
Okay.
Let's plan on the next one being remote. But I will talk to the chairman and see what their idea is on that moving forward. Scott, I don't know if you want to reach out to Tim as well.
Yeah, I haven't seen any movement on an official policy. What I've done is just with the committees that I work with, I've had them on Zoom when public comment or public hearings occur. When they're not, it's an option. Just the thought being that it's easier for the community to participate if it's remote, considering how many committees we have, and we only have the 2 rooms. I'm not sure how easy that'll be, considering the support needs for the the hybrids.
Right. So we'll get some ideas and see what the general motion is on that. Okay. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
I'll second it.
Okay. Roll call vote. Rachel,
Aye.
Brian,
Aye.
Chris,
Aye.
Kate,
Aye.
and I'm an aye as well. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
Thanks
Thank you.
again.
Thanks.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye now.